breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Monday, January 5th, 2026. Hope you guys have had a nice New Year's holiday. I think we're back into the swing of things, just in general. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I did. I enjoyed it quite a bit. We're gonna kind of dive into what we got today. We got some good stuff. We're going to talk about schools and hospitals embracing AI. So there's two separate articles on this. One, as schools embrace AI tools, skeptics raise concerns, and the other is hospitals are a proving ground for what AI can do and what it can't. We're going to talk about how Alexa, Amazon Alexa, that is trying to get back into the technology zeitgeist, if you will. Amazon's AI assistant comes to the web with Alexa.com. And finally, we're going to talk about Doordash says it banned driver who seemingly faked a delivery using AI. How interesting. Of course, before we get into that, let's kind of go over some of the macroeconomic trends here and the market and see how it's doing. The Dow Jones is up this morning, 1.36%. The Nasdaq is up 0.99%. The S&P 500 is up 0.77%. Looks like a green day. And wow, Bitcoin went over 90K. Very nice. Congratulations to Bitcoin. It went up 2.83% up to 93,844. So very nice. Before we get into our stories, make sure to download Byte AI Market Analysis, which is a technical and financial co-pilot. Basically, it tells you when you need to enter and exit the market, just like so. It says overbought for Tesla. That means I should sell. And then it says underbought for NVIDIA, which means I should buy. What does it base it off of? It bases it off of technical indicators, which is what economists trade off of. It's like a math way of looking at entry and exit signals. So those include the RSI curve, or the relative strength index, Bollinger Bands, as well as the MACD/signal curve. It also does it based off of news analysis and sentiment. Remember that Byte AI is not a financial advisor, neither am I, and past success does not guarantee future results. However, it is a great tool. I use it every morning when trading stocks with Robinhood. And I have a very healthy rate of return of 25 year to date, 25%, that is. So I'm very happy about that. Alrighty. Let's talk about our first story. As schools embrace AI tools, skeptics raise concerns. More governments are rolling out chatbots in schools. Some experts warn the tools could erode teaching and learning. So, it's really funny. I tend to use personally AI for just everything. I'm all in on AI. No one can stop me from using AI because you guys know my stance on this. It's like nobody is smarter than AI. You can try to cope, but it's just wrong. But yeah, so that's like my general stance. And I've found that just via that lens, the education system has definitely not done a good job, handling AI thus far, I think. Basically, like, students are kind of afraid to use it from what I've seen. I used to be like a kind of like an LA, or it's kind of like a TA, but not really. Still get paid. And so it's like, at one point I suggested, I was like, hey, like, I remember this one time succinctly. I was like, oh yeah, why don't we just pull this up on ChatGPT real quick? And her hands over the keyboard were just like the student I was working with at, in that particular moment her hands on the keyboard were just like shaking. She's almost sweating. She's like, Chat GPT? Like, I was like, yo, it ain't that deep. Like, let's just learn the material here, right? Like, it's not a big deal. Um, right? Because in the end of the day, we're all in the pursuit of learning and truth, not like, like rigid rules, like, oh, you can you have to go to the bathroom one at a time, otherwise you go to the principal's office. It's like, okay, I think we've had enough of that in 2021 through 2023. Thank you very much. But yeah, so this article kind of goes into um, basically just, well, it goes into a few separate things. One that I particularly liked was how Estonia is apparently using AI in education as basically it uses it like by using the Socratic method, which is just always asking questions, which I find to be extremely annoying from the student's perspective. It's like I came to you with a question, I expect an answer, not like another question. Otherwise, I'd figure it out myself. But yeah, I mean, that aside, though, I mean, it is like known to be a better method of teaching. Just aside from my sentiment on it, just like studies show that. So I guess Estonia has adapted their AI to local education needs and priorities, and they use it so that it responds to students' queries with questions rather than produce direct answers. Okay. So very nice. Okay. Um, I think that some people, like some students, already do use AI, and it's kind of like the wild west for who's using AI right now. If you're a student, at least it was just up to, I'd say, May of last year, but as that's when I stopped being a student. But I think the choice shouldn't be like banning AI versus allowing it. I think it should, because people are going to use AI anyway. So I think it should be guided use versus silent misuse, right? So just kind of training like kids and like other students, like college grade students as well, like how to not misuse AI, right? So there's that. There's a potential for sort of shaping the new generation with that. If you sort of intercept the idea of not using AI as a cheating tool or anything, but rather as a learning tool, which is always how I've used it, as a learning tool. I sincerely believe, and I've talked to other people about this too, but it's like I sincerely believe I'm a smarter person because of AI. And I know people are saying like, oh, like you can de-skill, or you can, oh, like, you offload the cognitive load onto the, you know what? The way I see it is like there are tasks that need to be done, and I'm going to use the shortest method that I need to for that. But at the same time, I'm also going to kind of guard my skills, right? So I'm also going to set time aside to sort of work on my core skills, right? My light just died, unfortunate. Anyways, so that's why I spent all weekend basically doing leak code, and I was like, wow. And I got up to speed pretty quickly, mind you, but yeah, I mean, it's stuff I haven't seen in a little bit, not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, so I do, the point being, I do, despite that kind of hardline stance of getting everything done in the most efficient way possible, I do also kind of respect human skills to the point where I will allocate time just to do skill building and refining. So that's kind of my take on that. Hospitals are proving ground for what AI can do and what it can't. Healthcare is going all in on artificial intelligence, from reading patient scans to fighting insurance denials. Yeah, so hospitals were kind of like the they were early customers on the low key. Um and so I guess now they're kind of in this piece, it's kind of going into how they're kind of um using it more, turning to ChatGPT. You can see here, Mayo Clinic, very, very well respected. Mayo Clinic cardiologist Paul A. Friedman turned to ChatGPT when he needed to weigh in on the case of a patient who needed defibrillator implantation a few days after having heart surgery. Let's face it, hats off to, I don't know who this guy is, this cardiologist, Paul Friedman. Hats off to Paul Friedman. at this point, as a patient, I trust chat GPT. Like, I'm not an active patient, but like, if I was an active patient, I would trust chat GPT over anybody. I just don't trust humans. I just don't trust people. I'm very friendly with people, and I love my friends, and I trust my friends. Okay, but I just don't trust the general populace, right? So it's just like I don't really trust anyone in that respect, aside from that caveat. Um, so that's why in this case, good on Paul Friedman, the Mayo Clinic cardiologist, for turning to Chat GPT when he needed to weigh in on the case of a patient, like on the real. Like, mad respect to that guy. Yeah, there was this excerpt in this article. It said, so I guess this hospital in New York, Mount Sinai, recently paused the use of an Epic, awful EHR, by the way. It's the most widely used one, but from a developer's perspective, it's very hard to integrate, and they're just they're known to be hard to integrate with. Just a monstrosity of a developer interface. Anyways, Mount Sinai recently paused the use of an Epic generative AI tool, which aimed to analyze messages patients sent to doctors and create personalized draft responses. After trying it for a few weeks, doctors said the drafts weren't helpful and required too much rewriting. You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like the hospital protecting the receptionist's jobs. So this goes back to the Bernie Sanders clip that we watched together last week, where he said, let's do a moratorium on data centers because we need to protect people's jobs. Again, I've been very consistent on this since the beginning of the show. There's no protecting jobs, okay? Like, just let the AI write the personalized draft responses. It's okay. It's okay. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, it wasn't good enough. Okay, well, I guess you just suck. I mean, I don't know. Like, it works good enough for me. And I use AI for like 2 of my startups. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? All right. Amazon's AI assistant comes to the web with Alexa.com. Look at this UI. It's like, can anybody be like original? Like, I'm just looking at, like, Grok. I'm looking at ChatGPT. Like, what is this? Ask Alexa. Oh, this is Alexa. Okay. But yeah, so I guess Alexa is trying to kind of get back, sort of into. They're trying to be popular again. Of course, the Amazon Echo kind of more or less kind of failed. I think you can kind of admit now. And and this is kind of symbolic of that as well. Amazon, I think, is sort of admitting that hardware was the wrong moat. I will commend the 600 million devices sold worldwide, but it's just like, well, then why this? Why not just integrate it into Echo and make that a publication piece, right? So this is signal from that. That is what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's that. I mean, I guess enough said. That's cool, I guess. Echo. All right. Here's our last story. DoorDash says it banned driver who seemingly faked a delivery using AI. Wow. So I guess there was this viral X post over the weekend where a delivery driver for DoorDash kind of used an AI tool to sort of fake a delivery. And yeah, so first of all, want to commend DoorDash. Nice job for kind of taking care of this. A DoorDash spokesman told TechCrunch, after quickly investigating this incident, our team permanently removed the Dasher's account and ensured the customer was made whole. We have a zero tolerance for fraud and use a combination of technology and human review to detect and prevent bad actors from abusing the platform. So nice job on DoorDash for that. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I had to say about that. What I also have to say about that is that this is the first mainstream use of, I think, AI powered petty crime, because that's kind of what this is, right? I think we're going to see more of that. I was seeing over the weekend too, there were like these, kind of from the customer side of things, but also happens to be DoorDash. It was like this, it was like burger meat, right? but they used AI to make it look like it wasn't cooked, like to make it look like it was like extremely rare meat. And so they of course wanted a refund, and then I guess some of them went through or whatever, and then the businesses kind of are hurt in the end, right? So I saw that as well, and this kind of made me think of that. So I think that AI can power fraud in this way, but at the same time, platforms are now sort of in an arms race of generative AI versus detection AI, right? Like, so they need to be able to detect if this is AI, which you can kind of tell if you're a human, like it looks a little bit uncanny, but you need a programmatic way to do it that's very, very like effective and accurate as well. So yeah, okay. I think we're gonna leave it there. Um, Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Hope you make lots of money out there in the stock market today and minimize your losses, if any. Make sure to download Byte AI to help do that off the App Store. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.